on these live streams because for whatever reason it doesn't start recording right away. Okay, I think I'm on now. Okay, lots to talk about. I won't remember everything. A lot of stuff going on. That's my favorite phrase. There's always something going on. The ticks, that's the title of this one. And they're being dropped by helicopters in boxes. And a lot of this is happening on the eastern part of the United States where we're at, in states like West Virginia, Indiana, a lot of the East Coast. I know Martha's Vineyard, they talked about people are getting infected with ticks that when they bite you, it's causing an allergic reaction to meat and dairy, so animal products, to the point where your throat swells up. And a lot of this information is coming from my family have put in our health hacks group and stuff like that. And it's important to let you guys know what's going on because it could help try to save somebody's life. And I've been hearing the last couple weeks that the allergic reaction might be permanent from these ticks. And if you guys remember, what, in the 1960s probably, with the Lone Star tick, where the government was responsible for dropping ticks onto the populace and they were getting infected with the Lone Star virus. And this is more the same thing. Our government's behind it. And what are we going to do about it? How are we going to stop it? Well, right now, the most important thing. Hey, nice to see you in, Troy. I'm glad I sent that to you. I'm glad you messaged me today. And he's another one on board with me, kind of with my mentality and thinking on certain topics, which is good. Another pretty smart one. We've got the tick topic going on right now, and what you can do to prevent ticks from going on you. There are some herbs that can help. I think my mom was saying three of them: catnip, thyme, and sweet wormwood are three herbs that can be a tick repellent. You can also, I guess she's saying it's being reported that you can go to stores like Ace Hardware or Tractor Supply and get a bag of sulfur powder. And you don't want to leave sulfur powder on your skin, but sulfur in the powder form, you're supposed to put it in a bag. It probably doesn't, you probably don't buy it in a bag, but you can put it in a bag and you would like bang it up and down your leg, moving down toward your ankle and your shoes. And the sulfur will be the best tick repellent known to man. And they absolutely hate it, along with chiggers. I know chiggers are those real tiny red bugs. You can barely see them. I can see them because I have good up close vision. My terrible vision is absolutely awful, but or my distance is terrible. But up close, I can see real well, and I do see chiggers a lot. I know my mom; she had a chigger bite. This has probably been about 5 or 6 years ago, and she didn't realize that she was working outside, got bit by a chigger on the arm, and over time that wound opened up and you could actually see a hole in her arm from that. I wasn't that long ago. I went with her to the doctor when she got that fixed and it looked really bad. You wouldn't think a bug that small could do that kind of damage, but they really can. And sulfur powder is a good way to repel ticks and chiggers. It's the best one that we know of. And like I said, you'll buy it from Ace Hardware or Tractor Supply and you just put it in a bag and you just go up and down your legs with it, all the way down your ankles into your shoes, and make sure it's covered with that sulfur powder, but you don't want it on your skin. You wouldn't want to leave it on your skin for very long at all. You would want to actually wash it off if it comes in contact with your skin. So, common sense dictates when you're going out, like I'm about to go out in the woods, whether it be tomorrow or something, looking for information on the Gretchen Fleming case out in Ward County, next county over. And I'm kind of scared to death for ticks right now. The government is doing this to us, and it's something we've got to. It's not just a conspiracy thing. It's being reported all over the internet, and we have to really be mindful right now because who wants to get bit by a tick right now and have an allergic reaction to where you can never eat meat or dairy products ever again, where your throat is closing up on you and everything. I mean, we're scared to death to go in the hospitals anyway because, in our health hacks chat, Pennies from Heaven, she sent us our Tampa source. She sent us Florida kill law, where hospitals can actually get away with killing somebody in the state of Florida. And I said, a woman, she found a video of a woman who lost her 25-year-old daughter, Taylor, to it. in Florida, and they have this law to where they can get away with it. And I said, that's not just in Florida. I said, that's going on everywhere. I talked about my friend Tanya Durenberger, which, yes, she was in a very sad and compromised state. Marietta Memorial didn't beat around the bush in Ohio across the Ohio River. I was medical power of attorney, and they said, hey, is it okay? We've got her on fentanyl. Is it okay to just end her life? And, I said, no. I said, she wants to live. So then they went to the daughter, and the daughter, I don't want to say went behind my back. It's not, Tanya wasn't my family. She was my good friend, but she made me medical power of attorney because she didn't trust the hospitals, and very few of us do. So there's that going on. Moving on. Oh, well, just to remind you, those three herbs, if you don't get the sulphur powder for ticks, catnip, thyme, and sweet wormwood. If you want to look those up on Amazon or search for them in Walmart or something, maybe you'll find them, or your local herbal store. Here we've got Mother Earth Foods. You might find that in there. It is about that time of the season for poison ivy pills. They sell real popular too. Our herbal shops carry that, but they sell out real quick. And one repellent for mosquitoes is citronella. I've always really liked the plant citronella. It's a type of geranium, and you want to put that outside. You can have tiki torches as well. That can help. Mosquitoes are a big problem right at dusk when the sun's going down. Right before it gets dark is when they're really most prevalent. And the females bite you. And you ask, why am I bringing up the mosquitoes? Well, that's because Bill Gates of hell and his bioengineering companies, we've talked about it a couple years ago when I was living in Florida 3 years ago. They had started the release of the mosquitoes. And yes, we know the females are the only ones that can bite you, but it was found that they were caught, and some of them had found the biomarkers on these mosquitoes and stuff. So there is all that. Somebody commented, whole food supplements are good. Yes, good comment on that. I agree with that. And that's a couple of the things going on right now on Conspiracy Corner video that we've got going on. My army friend Shaterer, she was in the army with me in Germany. She's now by Fort Campbell, Kentucky. She was telling me some other conspiracy topics tonight, and she is going to join us for a live stream very soon. Within the week, I'm going to help her launch her YouTube channel. And she knows a lot about the conspiracy topics, and she was telling me tonight about King Charles of England is dressed up in his fancy clothes. And she said this only happens when something big is about to go down. And he made an announcement about digital identification. And it's that time where we've been talking about for years, the digital ID rollout. And if you don't subscribe, if you don't get it, you're not going to have anything. And we've been talking about that for years. And it appears it's now about that time. If he's announcing it in England, it's going to happen here soon. And our rent, our utility bills, the electric bill, all of it is going to be wrapped up in this, and you aren't going to be able to have anything. So, what's the circumvent for that? Well, I don't know. Hopefully, hopefully we have a little time yet, but just be forewarned that they are starting to make the first initial announcements of this. And in there, eventually comes that Shatera was talking about. They're going to start with the microchipping of people too, and we've talked about that. That's the mark of the beast. The spot right in here between the thumb and the forefinger on the right hand or the forehead. We've talked about these topics for years, and it's scary, but those of us who believe in Jesus, we don't really operate out of fear. That's a devil tactic. We know that if we have our faith in the right spot, that we'll be okay. We just don't want to suffer unnecessarily. So there's a lot of that going on. There are other topics, and I'm not sure I can remember all of them. She dumped a lot on me. The data centers, there is a leak. It's a distractor. The data centers, I don't know if you guys are paying much attention to that right now. One thing they're doing is they're forcing people out of their homes. And you guys remember in North Carolina, the big hurricane, and it was proven that the hurricane, what was the name of it? I can't remember now. It was just what, 2 years ago, or was it last year, where it hit North Carolina and it wiped everybody out in the mud flood. And that's not really that far from where we're at in West Virginia. It's closer than you think it is. And one of my guys who subscribed to the channel, I worked with him at Lowe's 3 years ago already. He actually went to Bible college down there in the exact location where this had happened in North Carolina, and I saw him at the Gretchen Fleming vigil the other night. We got to talking pretty good there for a minute, but say a prayer for him. His name is Tim Cronin, and his dad has an aggressive form of brain cancer, glioblastoma. It is the most aggressive form, and he's not expected to live, wasn't expected to live this month. And he's now entered the part where he said that his dad's head it's throbbing really hard. And unfortunately, it probably won't be that much longer. I hate to say it. So the way he was describing it. So he's handling it well. He knows his dad's in a good place. Their faith is rock strong. And this guy, he is Tim Talks on YouTube. If you ever look up Tim Talks, you might find his channel. It's about Bible stuff. So I would encourage you to subscribe for that. He's just getting started. I would like to help him a little bit here too. But yeah, the hurricane that was engineered, it was geoengineering, and you could see the radar pulses out in off the coast, the Gulf Coast of Florida, where they were zapping that hurricane to life and steering it. And they have the power to shut down every hurricane if they so wanted to, but they don't. Human loss of life. But the biggest thing in North Carolina was they wanted to drive people off that land because it contained I think it was silicon they needed for the artificial intelligence, and it was a big mine deposit. So, what better way to have that land is to drive everybody off of it? And that's exactly what happened. And it also was going on in Montana either last year or 2 years ago. It might have been 2 years ago already, and probably toward August, September timeframe. And the wildfires were happening in Montana, but nobody was reporting on it. And it was to drive those people off those lands because they found out that there was a lot of silicon there that they needed for the artificial intelligence. Things were also going on in Texas. They were throwing up the big plants, the artificial intelligence plants. But now this is all happening in the state, and it's big news. It's on the internet right now. People are talking about it in states of Georgia, I believe, Alabama, where people are literally it's not people who are renting, it's people who own their homes are being forced out for these data centers now, for artificial intelligence data centers. And the water leaks or whatever that they're talking about, it is just a distractor. Right now there are things going on that, so remember from the pandemic, I was stationed out in Germany when it all rolled out in 2020, 19 and 20, and we had to get the big cotton swabs up our nose, and that broke the blood brain barrier. It was a cotton swab. How big do I want to make this? So this is the base of it, and it was like all the way up to here, that big. And that went all the way up your nose, and it broke the blood-brain barrier in your nose and your eyes. I was the last one to get it, and my sergeant said he was going to get in really big trouble if I didn't get it. So I did it, and it broke my blood-brain barrier, and I had all the stuff coming out, and it was equivalent to the gas chamber in basic training, except for the gas chamber cleans out your sinuses. This just breaks your blood-brain barrier. So when they're spraying the skies with boron, strontium, and aluminum, and the other heavy metals, you're breathing it in unfiltered through your blood-brain barrier. Those particulates are so small that you cannot filter them out anymore. Well, now there's another way that chemicals are getting into your blood-brain barrier, and I bet if you had to think about it, you wouldn't guess it. Well, look at the clothes that we're wearing. And somebody commented on YouTube today. I was talking with them. Azobenzene. A chemical called azobenzene is on some synthetic materials of clothing. And I've been seeing this past few years, and it's getting absorbed into your skin. And when it gets absorbed into your skin, azobenzene is another chemical that gets absorbed and it goes in through the blood brain barrier, and you cannot process it out. So now you don't even need the cotton swabs. You don't even need to break the blood brain barrier. You get these chemicals that are getting absorbed through your clothes, and we need to research what clothes contain azobenzene. And if you can figure that out, you need to steer clear of wearing those garments, because that chemical will get absorbed into your body and it will go through the blood brain barrier. And it's basically like, what was the term the guy used today? Digital bioconvergence. They're basically tampering with your DNA. So when this goes in your body, it's chemically altering your DNA. And another thing is LED lights. I know this sounds crazy. and wacky, but now they've infiltrated and put LED lights everywhere, and everybody likes them better because they're brighter. LED lights actually can alter your DNA, your deoxyribonucleic acid. Believe it or not, LED lights, look it up. It can. There's a patent for this. It can alter your DNA and it can chemically alter the structural processes of your body. Azobenzene, LED lights, you need to try to be aware of these things. That's kind of the reason why we exist, is to alert the public about things like this and, avoid them at all costs. We need to research what clothes have azobenzene in it. I know some of you guys are really good when I bring stuff up like this. Emily, you're really good at stuff like this. Maybe you can find out, or maybe I can find out here. I'll do it tonight. Not to call anybody out, but I know some of you guys are really good. Megan's another one good with research too. If you happen to be on tonight or watch this video tomorrow, she's another good one that really does great research in our local area. So that's most of it. I do want to comment on a couple things regarding the paranormal side of things. I am coming out with an Indrid Cold video November 2nd. That was the famous sighting. Somebody had emailed me, came across our old videos with Tanya, who has passed away, Tanya Durenberger. I mentioned her at the beginning of this video. And I updated him on the situation, told him why I thought that the whole thing was real, even though a lot of people didn't. That Indrid Cold was a real and humanoid entity who I have seen one of his ships on July 20th of 2020 in Germany. That big reveal will be coming on November 2nd. A Mothman sighting has occurred from a new guy I've been talking to who has also suffered from voice to skull technology, along with an identified number of 79 people or so that he has talked to. I don't know enough about it yet to delve too much into V2K, which is voice to skull technology. A woman by the name of Sabrina Wallace talks about this, and her channel, I think, is I don't remember the full name. It's like D Booma San or something like that. But I know one of you subscribers who's watching tonight asked me about that, and I think I sent that to you. Sabrina Wallace, you can figure it out if you look up her name. She talks about a lot of things. Voice to skull technology is probably the biggest one. And this guy I have talked to who used to live in Ohio and has now moved to Florida, it's a big thing. I can preface it for you for a little bit. Voice to skull, basically, it's like MK Ultra, but it's completely different. It's mind control on a different level, and nobody seems to understand exactly how they're doing this. But it's an attack and it's an onslaught. And some days it hurts like hell, and other days it doesn't hurt, and it's not really so bad at all. But it's basically every day, and you can't get them out of your head. I can't really go too much into detail. I don't know enough about this yet, but I know I have chronicled the Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito situation. That was when Brian murdered Gabby in Bridger Teton National Forest in Montana when they were going up on a trip to all the state parks in Utah and up north. And gosh, where was I going with that thought? What was I just talking about right before that? I must be getting old. Um, I don't even remember. There's so much going on now. I just lost my train of thought. But I was kind of comparing that murder when he murdered himself to the bones that were found of Gretchen Fleming in our local case. They said it was, and it's the same thing with Laundry. It was a partial skull with a couple teeth and a forearm bone, and that's all they're saying that was found for Gretchen Fleming. So now that Preston Pierce, and I know this is switching gears to a different topic, but I do want to talk about this before I wrap up with you guys. Now that Preston Pierce is incarcerated in the state of North Carolina in Buncombe County, Asheville City, he is to be extradited here. And people are asking on that court case, where is it going to be? How's he going to get a fair trial? Is it going to be here? Is it going to be in North Carolina? I don't think it's going to be here in Wood County, West Virginia, because how in the world are they going to get him a fair trial? This case has been going on for 3.5 years. I don't see how it's possible, but I do think it has to be in the state of West Virginia. Yeah, North Carolina has the death penalty and we don't, but that's not what's at stake on that case. It's more about the fact that the crime it happened here. It occurred here. So I think you have to be tried in the state that it occurred in, regardless of whether we have the death penalty or not. That's irrelevant. The charges being brought against him were four charges: felony murder, first degree murder, kidnapping, and what was the other one? Oh, concealment of a body. And I've argued we found a lot of Facebook accounts that he has made, hundreds of them. And I think that was his version of a soft defense, knowing he would be arrested, saying, well, look, this one supports human trafficking. There's a woman with a vibrator on a bed flashing a bunch of cash, and it's got Gretchen Fleming's name on it. I think he was just doing that to throw us off track now that the police are saying that these are the bones. But then the question in my mind comes, where's the rest of the body? It's just like Brian Laundrie all over again. A skull, a partial skull with a couple teeth, and a forearm bone. If it was me, I wouldn't have the bones sitting on top of the ground where a squirrel hunter could find them, and I would do something about the skull. You wouldn't want the teeth to be identified. So the whole thing seems a little strange, but here we sit after 3.5 years. So, the family's got justice now. Preston is locked up, as well as Greg Casto in the Cindy Ball murder. So I didn't really plan on talking about that stuff so much tonight, but it's all important. People keep asking questions, and we've got to cover it. So that's a lot of the conspiracy stuff that's going on right now: the ticks, the digital ID rollout, the data centers for artificial intelligence. And oh, yeah, before we go, this is very important. I was going to talk about this morning, and I almost forgot. The flock cameras. They are now being implemented in the state of Indiana, my home state, and people are not compliant about it. They don't want them. Well, guess what? We've got them here in Parkersburg. I hate to tell you guys, in our city of Parkersburg, these sons of you know what have implemented these flock cameras. And they're all over. They're all over on our streetlights, all throughout town. The first one was set up on Uncle Mike's Bar on 7th Street last year. And now the big thing about flock cameras, this is what Shater was telling me, is they are implemented really heavily around Lowe's and Home Depot. And I said, why? I said, why do they want them there? And she didn't seem to have a good answer on that, but it's like that in all these cities. They're putting these flock cameras up. And I know in Vienna, which is the city just to the north of Parkersburg, they connect. One's on north, one's on south. That there are four flock cameras in the Lowe's parking lot right now as we speak, going like this and motions, and that's all going to an AI data bank. And it is one of the primary investors is Peter Thiel. We've talked about Peter Thiel. If you juxtapose the letters of the name Peter Thiel, it comes to reptilian. So I know that might be a little far-fetched for people to think that he's a shape-shifting reptilian, but I personally believe it. But regardless, that's a little bit out here and not the main topic of the whole flock camera thing. But he's just a primary investor, and it's not a good sign that he is. But these companies, you basically, the public sector, the people in the private people aren't going to have rights over these private data centers that are controlling the AI company Palantir. And if you remember, Palantir was the one that President Trump came out and touted when he started his presidency this year, was Palantir. That was the big one. They were going to use it with the president's presidency and the government and all this stuff. And here we go. We're going down that slippery slope now where we're trading another thing, convenience again, for, these flock cameras. It's an invasion of privacy and rights. That's why people don't want them. Out here, nobody's putting up much of a fight. They've already put them up, and it wasn't what we asked for. We didn't want this. Their argument is, well, it's going to keep people safer from Preston Pierce and pedophiles. And when they do stuff like he did, we'll be able to get them right away. Except for we had cameras that tracked his movements. We had cameras at the car wash that wasn't flock cameras. They weren't synced up to artificial intelligence. We have Ring doorbell cameras. Most people have cameras on their house that can check them that night and stuff like that. We don't need flock cameras to violate our privacy and track our every movements. They're putting up a fight right now in the cities like Corona, California against these flock cameras right now. Some people are really trying to push back on it, but out here, people took the ass whipping and they didn't even ask questions. They just bent right over the chair and said, "Okay, flock cameras. We don't want them." And I'm trying not to cuss. I slip up every now and then, but you know what? We don't want the stuff. So I'll leave you on that right now. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you. I know it's late at night. It's 10:30 Eastern where we're at in West Virginia, and we will come out with more videos trying to help the public. I'm not giving up on Gretchen. I think it's connected to witchcraft. I don't think it's just a rape and murder. Yes, Preston Pierce is a very sick man who has very deluded sexual fantasies and has been doing this to women for decades. But, it took them 3.5 years from the missing time of Gretchen Fleming, but we have a victim. We've been working with a woman who's helping get justice in a different case where Preston raped her, left marks on her backside. She was out for 2 days, drugged on a Sunday, woke up on a Tuesday. Preston choked her out in bed. She said he's, got a sick thing for lighthouses. So, the guy's in jail now. He's not going to see the light of day, but he's going to put up a fight. And he's trying to say, oh, yeah, the Parkersburg police got me a lawyer. Well, no, I don't think that's completely true. He's got a public defender, a woman. That's 100% confirmed. Now he's got another public defender from the state of North Carolina. These public defenders probably aren't going to be able to do much in a case this big. He doesn't have the money, though. So, anyway, enough about that case. I'll come out on another one, update everybody what's going on and what I find out in Work County. So, thanks everybody for your help. Thank you for the ones I saw at the candlelight vigil who met me and said, "Yeah, we don't trust our police." I said, "Well, I know. I'm going to try to help a little bit with this basketball league rollout, and maybe I can help smooth things over with the community policing relations a little bit. I want to get them on a point where we can at least think that they will have our backs because they can't all be bad. And I just got to dig a little bit on this case and find out what's really going on because there's more to it than just one man and a rape and murder. It's more, it's bigger. So, anyway, I'll let you guys go. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you all. And as always, until the next time, 9 o'clock Eastern, Godspeed, everybody.